once the chair is selected, then that person takes over the meeting as normal for the new school committee. So I would take motions from the committee for the position of chair of the school committee.
I nominate Emery.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, so we have on the floor a motion for Emery Everin to be chair for the school committee year 2020, 2021. Any discussion?
I'm just going to say that I think in this time of change and potentially a little bit of turmoil, that I would really appreciate having Emery's experience and his ability to kind of see things from multiple angles and keep us all on an even keel. And I think we really need that. And he's a solid leader. So I would appreciate his leadership for sure.
Thank you, Jen.
I agree.
And my thought was more of does he want it again? So as long as and he's happy with it, because I know you've done it before, then I think it's a
Yes. So, if you remember last year's conversation, this wasn't the design, but I also don't want to seem like I am shirking away from the responsibility. It is great that we have a lot of new members, but as I think earlier I had a brief conversation with Cheryl, this is the first time that I recall we do not have at least 2 school committee members who are on their second term. Which is great, because that means we have new interest and we have new faces on our committee. But also, if I can help in any way just to bridge that and, then you guys hopefully carry on, I will be happy to help.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion?
So is that a yes, Emery?
Okay, without any further discussion, I would call a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Everin. You are the next school committee chair, and I respectfully turn it over to you.
Thank you, Cheryl, and
You're
thank you,
welcome.
everyone.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. It is an interesting year, and I'm looking forward to it. So it will be great working with you all. So with that, the second item on our agenda is the election of our vice chair. Is there any nomination for the vice chair position?
I nominate Jen B.
Is there a second or any other?
I'll second it. Yeah, she was already in that position and doing a terrific job. So keep
Okay.
at it, Jen.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussions, any questions, comments? Okay, so all in favor to elect Jen Bartos as our vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Jen.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to
Rocket
working
me.
with you too. Yes, this is so for our newcomers, we have multiple subcommittees and other positions that our school committee participates in. For the subcommittees, we have 2 members participating. There is the membership in our Collaborative for Educational Services. This is basic. You guys know this one, but this is a collaborative of school committees from Hampshire and Franklin counties, and they meet every other month. Jen, now is that what it is?
Yeah, I would like to continue because they're gonna go through the summer also.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Just because of our current situation.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that, and we've agreed to go through the summer.
All right.
So,
So you basically helped me with that whole intro. I was just explaining what type of positions we have on our agenda to elect members for. So the first one is collaborative. Typically, we like folks to continue on that role, as Jen mentioned, that it is a learning process. It takes a year or longer sometimes to really learn everything, and then we benefit from that relationship with other school committees. So, are you nominating yourself, and you're willing to continue, Jen? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Is there anybody else, though? I mean, that we just want to make sure that we are doing this openly. If anybody else is interested, we can discuss. Okay.
Okay with that.
All right. So, can somebody formally nominate then?
I'll nominate
Jen.
Jen
Okay.
Mallett.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Other questions, discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor to elect Jen Mallett as our collaborative representative, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, Jen. Next, we have Policy Subcommittee. This is, again, you probably know, but this is the committee that reviews all the existing policies. Policies can be in different shapes of forms. When we typically talk about policies, what we have in mind are the school committee policies that are numbered and dated and all that. But the policy conversations can go beyond that sometimes. It may be related to the policies related to the, those policies that exist in the school handbook. It may be some other policies, but typically this committee does a review of the school committee policies and brings updates. The interesting and nice thing is that we currently are in the middle of that review process, so there are several policies that still need to come to the school committee for approval and updates. This also, just maybe to entice, this may be a good opportunity for the new members to really learn about the policies that govern the school district. So if you're interested, please feel free to, raise your hands for this one.
If I may, Emery?
Yep.
There are 2 policies left
Yeah.
for review. They are doozies. I would forewarn the newbies, but they were recently reviewed in 2015, so we're not anticipating a whole bunch of update in time.
Good to
And
know.
really, once that's done, the policy subcommittee really just receives MASC updates and DESE updates, and then works to make sure that the policies of Granby are updated to meet those. So for example, the recent changes in Title IX that have come from the federal government, we need to make sure that our policies are aligned to those. So we get legislative directive, and then we also get legal updates. And the committee really, once these last 2 big policies are done, the entire policy manual has been reviewed and is current. So that's a really good place to be in, so that the subcommittee work would be really just keeping it current with new or changes to policy. And I wanted to thank Jen Mallett and Jen Bartos and the prior Jens and Marie McCourt, who worked on that over the past couple of years. So thank you for your work on that.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
So with that, anybody?
Is this one that multiple of us are on, or just one of us?
We have two positions, open positions for that subcommittee.
Okay. This interests me, I will state that.
Okay.
So.
So I cannot nominate anyone, but if
There.
you would like to self-nominate, or
I mean, I'll nominate Audrey Shudak
Great.
for the policy subcommittee.
How did that happen?
I don't know. She said she was interested, so.
All yeah, so I slightly misspoke. I could talk about nominations, but I cannot make a motion for the position. So,
I'll second.
all right. Anyone else for the second position?
I mean, can you be a member of multiple subcommittees or just one?
You can be member of multiples.
Okay. Well, if we need to, I guess, Audrey and I will take it.
All right.
Well,
Jen
I
and
know at
Jen,
the
you're
same
good?
time, Stephanie's been getting really involved with involvement and community involvement. And I know in the past you did have that subcommittee. So I don't know if that's something that you might want to hold out for versus jumping into this one.
I definitely did want to jump into that if there was room there, but I could certainly do both.
There will be just,
Yeah.
everything is open. So that's
Okay.
all good. Yeah.
So the way we scheduled these was the second meeting of the month. We tried to schedule the subcommittees so that if people were on two, you went from one subcommittee. So for example, policy subcommittee might meet first, and then the community relations would meet second. And then we would report out in the general meeting. So we can work around with just really good scheduling.
So Stephanie, I was on both of those last
Yeah.
last time. I've actually been on policy since I came on board. So this was my second year on it. And a lot of what we did in some separate meetings too, which was nice. So it allowed for longer meetings. Like Cheryl said, it was just really good scheduling. So
Okay, wonderful. Well, then I have no problem doing, doing policy
Okay.
subcommittee.
if you don't really want to, I don't mind going.
No,
back.
no, that's fine. I think it'd
Unless
be good.
Jen wants to guide us through it, you know, like having like a year of a tier.
Right, no, I think it would be good to learn, so absolutely.
Okay. So could we have a slate motion for Audrey and Stephanie for
I'll
the
nominate
policy?
Audrey and Stephanie for the policy subcommittee.
Cool. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, thank you and congratulations to both. The next one is our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. Without hesitation and a little selfishly, I would like to be on this one, the Budget Subcommittee.
Great.
I nominate Emery for sure. And I nominate Jen Mallett.
Okay, I'll second Emery.
And I'll second Jen Mallett. Can we do that?
Yeah, sure.
And do you still want to be on it?
Yeah.
All right, that's
Okay.
what I thought you were going to say. I didn't mean to step on your toes.
No,
All
no.
right. Any discussion, comments, questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. We have our Community Relations Subcommittee.
Can I nominate myself?
Yes.
You could.
All right, good. I nominate Jen Bartos. She's pretty good.
And I second.
Sweet.
Oh, well, that's not a motion. That's just a nomination. So is there a second nomination?
I want to nominate myself also.
Okay.
I was just gonna say.
All right. So can somebody please give us a motion for that slate?
I'll nominate Jen Bartos and Stephanie Perrin.
For the community relations, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah, you
Okay.
guys froze up for me. Did I make it on it?
We haven't
Well,
voted yet.
Yeah, we're still discussing.
Who's the other person?
That's Stephanie.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, thank you both. I think that's all we have as far as subcommittees. Here's the way subcommittees have been working and will continue to work. The reason why we have the subcommittees with 2 members, so that we do not have a majority of our full committee working on any one of these. That makes the decisions that those subcommittees make binding otherwise if you have more than 2. But subcommittees are required to bring their decisions and their recommendations to the full board for discussion. So we will all have something to say about everything, but we much appreciate the work that the subcommittees are doing and will be doing.
Who is on the school committee collaborative with Jen Mallett?
That's only a single position.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Good question. So since we wrap this up, I just want to wrap this segment by thanking our 2 past school committee members. I want to thank Mike Simpson for the great work that he's done, and for really, along with Jen, jumping to become one of the officers of the committee last year, and at a unexpectedly difficult time for a number of reasons that we all know. So I much appreciated his work and his friendship and his willingness to be there for for every student in the district. So Mike, if you're watching or if you watch this later, thank you so much. The other person obviously is Jim Pietrus, Mr. Pietrus, or Jim. For a variety of reasons. One is this was his at least second time on the school committee. But I personally want to thank him for not saying no when I called him when that position was open and we were having difficulty finding someone to jump in. And he said, if it's for the schools, I will get in there for one more year. And he did that. And his insight, his experience, his expertise is always appreciated. So thank you, Jim, for your work on the school committee as well. And now he thinks that he's completely retired, but we'll find a way to get him back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Did everybody get a chance to look at our minutes from June 10th joint meeting that we had with the Finance Committee and the Select Board?
We don't have any of that information, or at least I don't.
Correct, I don't either.
Right, so Emery, they
Okay.
will have to receive their Granby Public Schools
Yeah.
emails. And so for my new folks, you'll also receive copies of the policies, although it's a draft right now, and also our onboarding materials. So once we establish that for you, then you'll have access to the drive, and that's where all of the agenda and consent agenda and minutes are. A quick question for the newbies. Do you need laptops or Chromebooks to access, or would you be bringing your own? Because I can let David know.
As long as we'll have access to the internet, I do have my own, but I don't know whether or not it would be beneficial. It doesn't matter, but I do have
Okay.
it.
Stephanie?
Yep, I also have my own, so I'm fine,
Okay.
but thank you.
So what I'll have ready for you at the public hearing is the Chromebooks will be ready. And then we can test out if you'd rather have a Chromebook or use your own.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
So for tonight's meeting, can we forward to their personal emails, like the stuff, if there's any,
Yeah.
stuff from the budget folder from the last time, and then all that stuff, did we post that other stuff off track, when we? talked
Yes,
about-
everything will be posted, but that's a good idea. We'll just send it to your email addresses. I don't know David's availability. If he's available, your accounts may be set up very quickly anyway, so you would have access to that. It's a Granby Schools email address. So the consent agenda is really, at least this time around, only our minutes from June 10th. For minutes, if you feel comfortable, you can vote, even though you were not at that meeting. But we will need a motion and a second from folks who were present at that meeting. So folks who were not there cannot make the motion, but they can vote if you choose to. If you want to abstain, that's fine as well.
How
I'll
come we
make-
don't have minutes, I'm sorry, how come we don't have minutes from the June 16th meeting on, in our consent agenda?
I have not seen them yet, Jen.
I don't have them ready yet.
Right. So as soon as Jacqueline has them, I get them and then they go in.
We can't hear you, Jen. We still can't. Or maybe I can't. Can
I
I-
can't either.
I can't hear her.
Is she here?
She is,
Yes.
she's just frozen.
Good now.
All right, I was trying to make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
And I'll second.
Okay, any discussions, edits, questions? Okay, all in favor to approve the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Aye. Audrey and Stephanie, will you abstain?
I abstain.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
I will also.
yeah, I didn't want to ask it that way this time, so. All right, thank you. So we have 2 abstains, Jacqueline, and 3 ayes. All right. Next, we have our student representatives report. Marcus, do you have anything for us?
Don't, but I just want to say hi to the new members, and I hope that everyone stays safe and healthy through the summer and has a great summer for what you can do during this time. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate it. Does this mean that you're not going to join us for the meetings the whole summer because we're meeting every other day? No?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm
All
working,
right.
so we'll see how things play out.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck with everything. Enjoy your summer.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Moving to the new business.
Emily, you forgot
yes.
visitor comments.
We actually skipped that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Way to go,
All
And
right.
I
Erin.
only have one person.
Hey, it's been a while. So
That's what
so
I'm here for. This
thank
is
you. Thank you, Jen.
past
Yes.
several weeks on these.
So we do have visitors' comments, and I don't know whether we're asking them to raise their hands or send a message to Alex or to all of us. I'm not
There's
seeing
one-
anything.
There's one in the
either
chat
you
right
raise your
now.
hand or
Okay.
go into the Q&A and just say they want to speak, and I'll let them speak.
So you're asking everyone to put their name in Q&A if they want to say something?
If they can, but it's preferred
Okay.
if they raise their hand.
All right. Do you see that individual that everybody else is seeing? Who would like to speak?
So far, I
It
see
was
no one.
Kim, and she said it in the Q&A. Kim Bernier
Yes.
Goldsmith.
Yeah, I don't see anything in Q&A.
I answered it. That's why.
Oh, that. Okay.
Okay, Kim, I'll put you on.
Is she on? All right.
Oh, there she is.
Go ahead, Kim.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure if you could hear me.
We can.
Kim Smith, 239 Taylor Street. I just wanted to take a quick minute to congratulate Stephanie and Audrey. I know how excited both of them are to start their journey on the school committee. And I know you're both going to be a great addition to the school and to our town resident children. And thank you for running, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Who do we have next, Alex?
No one.
No one? Okay, let's just repeat it one more time. If anybody would like to say anything for the visitors' comments segment, please put your name in the Q&A and we'll bring you to the panel.
Emery, I would like to speak. It's Robin Lamorter, president of the GEA.
Okay.
I would hope that next meeting you would put on a vote for the resolution that I have sent you all and will send to Stephanie and Audrey, where you support funding for the schools, please.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And with everything going on, I guess that kind of slipped through. And I believe we have a few different versions of such petitions.
Okay,
So we will see which one of those we can bring to our next meeting for the vote.
thank you.
Yep. Thank you for the reminder. Appreciate it. All right. So with that, going to our new business. When we came out of the executive session last time, we let everyone know that we had an agreement with our interim superintendent, Carol Hepworth, and I believe Carol is with us. So happy to introduce Carol as our interim superintendent. And Carol, if you're on and if you would like to say a few words, please let us know so we can pull you on this side. This is like Star Wars. We'll pull you to the side and then send you back to the dark side.
I'm promoting her to panelist because now she's very important.
I
Okay,
see that she
thank
raised
you,
her
Alex.
hand.
All right. Hi, Carol. Can she unmute herself?
I got it.
There she is. All
Hi,
right.
everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. Welcome, Stephanie. Welcome, Audrey. This is exciting. Congratulations, everyone, on being the new chair and vice chair.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to working with all of you. It shall be a learning curve for all of us to start. One thing
Yes.
I can say though is, you know, I'm very familiar with the work. And 2 weeks ago, I was not thinking about doing this as you can ask anyone. I was pretty surprised to, you know, even think about it, but I'm glad that I can do it, and I'm glad that I can help, you know, keep Granby in a good place and move it along while you guys decide, you know, who you want for a permanent superintendent.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. And personally, I want to thank you also for, as you said, as you were getting ready for a different type of journey, you know, decided to stay with us for a little while longer. And we appreciate your experience in the district, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Great.
Anybody else for Carol? Anything you would like to say?
Welcome aboard,
Yeah,
Carol.
don't feel, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Carol.
I will say,
Thank you.
Carol, you look nice and rested. That's fabulous, but that will go away probably by the next meeting, so.
It's not that bad. Two
Hey.
meetings.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks,
But
Cheryl.
I will say, Carol, you know, personally and professionally, as part of a leadership team that is always doing much more than anyone should be expected to do. I appreciate you, your willingness to put Granby first, which we all do, but you certainly taking the lead in that as the school committee moves forward with their search. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I feel like Granby's left in really good hands with someone who knows the work and who knows the direction that the district is going in, and that has their fingers really on the pulse of what parents in the community have reported to us, which is that they really do feel that Granby Public Schools has come out of a period of concern and is really moving into where they would like to see it in terms of, you know, how we support students and staff and schools. So thank you, Carol, for putting my mind at ease that I know that Granby's in good hands.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out. And, you know, my focus has been for the past 4 years on improving special education services in the district. And so, you know, I'll change gears now and, you know, make sure that we're taking care of everybody.
Well, thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Would the committee like Carol to stay, or does you want me to put her back in the attendees?
Emery, are you putting me back in the waiting room?
He's frozen.
It's frozen.
Am I frozen?
Emery kept putting me in the waiting room, and he said, you know, you're going to have your own music because there's nothing in there. Luckily, my husband was playing his guitar, so I had music while I was waiting. So.
Awesome.
So she was asking about whether or not she should stay. It looks like he froze again.
If Carol's willing to stay, that would be great. And
agree.
also, I think if she could also, Alex,
Yes.
be a panelist for the public hearing.
Sometimes we
Okay.
That could be done. I'll be doing the panelists.
but you know, I hope the waiting room for
He's trying really hard, and I thought my internet was going to be a problem.
yeah, it's not the internet. I'm just holding a pose.
Excellent.
So thanks for staying with us. So we'll move to our old business, our FY21 budget update. Adam.
I mean, unfortunately, we don't have any new news, any more news than we shared at last week's meeting. We're still kind of in a sit and wait with the state and guidance. So we don't have any updates. We will be presenting at the public hearing on Monday. It's a budget less 10% from Chapter 70. But other than that, there are no updates to that. There's been nothing from the state as of today. So
yeah. So Adam, if we want to just add a little color to what you just said, so Chapter 70 is basically the state aid that we receive for our school district, and what we've been is that. And we made the decision that we would go with that 10% reduction. And that's what you're talking about. Is that correct?
correct. Yeah. And just to reiterate, I think I said it last week that there's been no guidance or suggestion from the state saying that we should look at a certain percentage of Chapter 70 cut. But just around the Commonwealth, districts are throwing out 10%, 15%, even some districts 20% that they're going to reduce their Chapter 70 revenue to kind of prepare for the worst. But that's our decision to reduce it by 10%. But there's been nothing from the state, nor will there be from the state saying, we suggest you plan on an X% cut from Chapter 70.
Okay.
So if I may, one of the things I think for the committee to keep in mind is that the budget that we presented, the FY21 original budget was pre-COVID-19. And the FY21 budget for public hearing, less 10%, does not include any resources in the case of reopening. So we are waiting and hopeful that this week, although it's already Tuesday, that the end of this week, we're going to get DESE's guidance, and that's going to come from Governor Baker, because that's been a task force that they have been working on together. And that will give us some clearer guidance on how schools can expect to reopen and what the resource allocation to do so would be. So I think as the committee moves forward with the leadership team, the discussion needs to include and not forget that there will be additional expenses that we will have to work with the town, but also any potential CARES money or federal stimulus money that comes, so that we are meeting the expectations and the guidance that's going to be set forth soon. So I just wanted to be clear that that is not included in the FY21 budget. So while the FY21 budget for the public hearing includes some reductions, it does not include what you can expect would be increases to meet guidance coming shortly. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
So we're not going to have those numbers in time for the hearing?
No. So basically, Jen, we're trying to meet a legislative requirement of having a school committee voted budget by June 30th, knowing that that will definitely change given what comes out of the legislature from the joint committee, House and Ways and Means, on what towns, municipalities can expect in terms of resource allocation, and also if there's any change to Chapter 70. And in addition, if there's any change in the Student Opportunity Act funding, because that's all on the table right now and all being discussed. So you're...
No, I understand that, but I'm thinking that, it's hard to vote on a budget when, if there's more costs that are going to be needed, that means more cuts in our situation, and there's not much left to cut. So, it's hard to.
So the public hearing, again, the public hearing on Monday and then the subsequent vote is a legislative, by law, we need to have a budget voted on by June 30th. There's no way around that. So unfortunately, with all the information that we have right now and with the budget that we built based on the information that we have right now, we have to bring that budget to public hearing and then to a vote by June 30th by law.
And Jen, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I think this is where our work with the town is going to be very important, because this will be the discussion with the finance committee and the select board around these are the expectations and the guidance on how the school department needs to open. You know, this is the leadership team's expectation for cost to that. And we're going to have to work with the town to make that happen. There's really no way around it at that point.
So can I ask a
There
hypothetical
is,
question?
there,
Go ahead, Jen.
go ahead.
So if we don't really have any of the numbers and we're making guesses, why is it then that we can't have the hearing on our original 21 budget?
Because there's gonna,
Because I think that would be based on the information that we do have, which is there is going to be a cut in revenue from the state. We don't know what that cut's going to be, but there is going to be a cut in revenue from the state. So for us then to present a budget that doesn't absorb that cut, I think would just be irresponsible. So I think we're going at it that 10% is a pretty safe assumption. Also knowing that we need to get the budget presented, we need to get it passed, but after it's passed, I mean, we're starting back at square one once we find out what the revenue decrease will be to the town. I understand your question. It is a good question, but I just think it'd be knowing that there are going to be some cuts to the revenue, we could not in good faith present a full FY21 budget to the town to vote on.
Right, but we're making a guess. So we settled on 10%, but we could be potentially be faced with, 20% to our chapter 70 and other losses, right? So I'm just not sure why the line is being drawn at, not that I want anymore, but like if we're trying to give what the real picture is, we don't really know what it is. And I understand I'm being a dead horse and I apologize, but we're trying to, but we have to fulfill.
Jen, we can't hear you.
Hopefully she comes back, but there is talk at the state level last week, at least for certainly this year, but bypassing a bipartisan budget and bringing both committees together jointly, the House and the Senate, and kind of coming up with a budget together. Instead of having all these three separate iterations where the governor puts the last one voted into legislation, where both committees would come together and come up with a budget for FY21. That's the talk right now. I'm not sure if they're going in that direction, but that came out of the state last week, that they would bypass the House and Senate versions and have one version.
so at this point, my question would actually be about the fact that we're going to be voting on this next week, or we're presenting it to the town. It's already decision made, like Stephanie and I have never seen it.
So again, unfortunately, there's so many unanswered questions, but by law, we need to have a budget voted by June 30th. So really, to Jen's point, she brings up a good point. Essentially, we could present any budget we wanted to the town on the 29th at public hearing and then vote on it, because we know we're going to be changing it based on what the state comes back with in cuts and mandates for how to start school. Again, we're up against the time limit to get a budget voted. We thought that a 10% decrease in revenue was a pretty safe assumption to then bring that forward to the town. But at the end of the day, it's up to the committee whether they want to bring that budget or some iteration of it to the town.
So Audrey, I don't know if you were asking whether or not you and Stephanie will have any opportunity to see the budget. Yes, we'll share the budget with you. And next week when we have the public hearing, the budget will be presented with the details to the public that will be participating in the public hearing. So unfortunately, you will not have many opportunities to do that, but at least you will have the opportunity to review before the hearing and then ask questions during the hearing along with the public. After that, the committee votes, and then it becomes our budget that we are sending to the town meeting.
Okay.
And I would be happy to, a couple of things. If you go to the website, the FY21 budget presentation for February 27th is our baseline budget, and then we reduce the 10% off of that. Adam and I will work on getting the FY21 less 10% up on the website tomorrow, but also I'll email it to Stephanie and Audrey. And we're happy to answer individually any questions you have. So if you wanted to come in to the office and set up an appointment to talk with me or with Adam, we can do that. That's not a violation of open meeting law. And if you have questions, if you just want to call in, we can certainly do that as well. So you feel comfortable that we've answered the questions. I mean, both of you have been a significant part of the meetings as we've been moving along. I think you probably know more than you think.
Yeah, we just haven't been able to see it in concrete black and white.
Okay,
So we hear you guys talking and we're trying to process it as we're like listening, but we haven't seen it in black and white.
So Adam, let's make sure that we email both Audrey and Stephanie the actual budget spreadsheet, and that we'll also get the spreadsheet up on the website so everybody has it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine, because that'd be too, I mean, I will send them the version with all the details in it, but we'd have to clean it up a little bit to put onto the website, but I can do that as soon as we get off tonight.
Perfect.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you for doing that.
And just one more question on the budget. So we're going to present the Chapter 70 less 10% budget, and we'll be voting on that. But just by sheer sake of voting on that, we're not necessarily giving our blessing that this is what we want the budget to be.
Correct.
It's a projected budget because we don't know. And I think if we're clear when we're stating that we're voting on a projected budget with the expectation that there's going to be changes, it just means that we're setting something through that it's not concrete.
Right. I just don't want my name associated with voting for in any way, shape, or form that's cutting athletics or cutting a drama teacher or anything. That's all.
Yeah. So the other side, potentially other side of the question that you asked, Jen, if, for instance, for some reason the state says, you know what, we're not going to change whatever we had projected before, and our net minimum school spending is this, then by law we have to really adjust it to that anyway. So so there will likely be some adjustments when information becomes available. As Jen was saying, this is just a projection, and we have to really make some assumptions because of what we are hearing. Doesn't mean that the budget is 100% aligning with the facts that we know, because we don't have those facts yet.
Okay.
And just one question to clarify, this doesn't have any, the FY21 does not include any future expenses for reopening the schools, correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. And that is a challenge. And when Robin mentioned the petitions resolutions, I mentioned that there were multiples because one of them at least is specifically on that if the state's going to make mandates that schools provide certain protections, as we should, there has to be some funding available for that. And we're going to bring that to the school committee for our conversation and then approval also.
Right, so if I may, after the public hearing, we will have a posted regular school committee meeting as well. And there'll be quite a few things that we'll have to go through at that meeting. And can everybody make the 29th, which is that Monday?
I
Yeah.
can.
I can.
Yes, great. Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any other questions for Adam? Yeah, the interesting thing is typically when we get to this point and we have our final version of the budget, which is the one we present at the public hearing, then we wait for the town meeting, which will be the case. But in this case, the budget that we're going to be voting on, as we've been discussing, may have some changes depending on what information becomes available to us in the hopefully near future. So we'll, Adam will, I'm sure, keep us posted. Cool. Next, we have our superintendent's report. Do you have a report for us, Cheryl?
I don't have a report, but I did want to reiterate what you said, Emery, and thank Mike Simpson and Mr. Petrus for their efforts. Mike over the past 2 years, I believe, and Jim for stepping in and filling the seat, a vacancy. Obviously, we didn't always agree, but we were respectful and we had really good discussion. So I appreciate all of their work with us. And I did want to say also that I appreciate everyone's patience as we're moving through COVID-19 and we don't have information yet about reopening. You know, we're hearing a lot from the surrounding communities about plans and surveys, and we've decided at the leadership team level that until we have guidance, there really isn't a whole bunch of time that we want to spend. We would much rather focus on closing out the school year and really working on our remote learning plan, which we anticipate at some point next year we may have to go back to. So we've been focused on that. And as soon as we have guidance from DESE, we will be moving forward and reaching out to the community and to staff and to students so that what we're asking is very pertinent to what we will be planning as we return to school. So I know it's kind of a confusing time out there because so many districts are doing things differently. But you know, we have been patient and really waiting for that guidance to come. And then lastly, you know, I did want to say thank you to the community for, you know, for the honor of serving Granby. It's been an amazing 4 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We have one more meeting, right? Regular meeting?
Yeah, but I figured I'd cry now while my little
Okay.
like Granby
All right.
Ram was up, so
Cool.
nobody could see me. So this worked out really well.
All right, good. Just let's get it out of the way, right?
That's right.
Okay.
But I'm not far, so, and Carol has me on speed dial, and so does Adam, so, and all of you do, so.
All right. Yeah, if your new district is willing to share their budget, we'll go with that.
She's gonna be like, block caller, block caller.
Yeah. Cool. Adam, do you have anything to add with your business office and facilities report?
Yeah, just we're still in the process of closing out FY20. So we got another 7 days left in the fiscal year, and then it's kind of we'll be in cleanup mode for the next month or so to clean up the end of the year and do what we have to do to close that out. So FY20, we're in the process of closing out. Obviously, FY21, we know where we stand. Facilities and maintenance, not really. I guess one of the good things of COVID was we were able to get a head start on the buildings being vacant and prepping them for summer work. So we're ahead on a lot of projects. Not that really East Meadow has any projects, but obviously the high school, with it being such an older building, just kind of doing some cosmetic upgrades and doing some deep cleaning. So, you know, we've been fortunate with schools being closed since March that we've kind of got ahead of that stuff. So other than that, there's really not much updates on my end.
Cool. Thank you. How are we doing with our FY20 budget? It's still aligned with, except for the COVID changes, is it aligned with whatever we were expecting on the line items?
Yes. Yep. And like I said, once June 30th hits and I hear back from Chris, I reached out to Chris last week to see when the last FY20 warrant will be processed. And I want to say the last 2 years, it's been the second warrant in July. I think we can include all of our FY20 expenses on that. Once I know that date and we ramp up reaching out to vendors to make sure they get us invoices, we'll have a better sense on that. And then now with the new subcommittee, that's certainly something we can meet and talk about.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you better be trying hard to find like, $600,000 savings.
Ooh, I mean, I'm not, if we have a $600,000 savings, I'm not sure I have a job. So I'll try my best, but that's not great. But yes, we are trying at the leadership level to be as creative as possible to try to withstand some of these projected or assumed cuts that might be coming for FY21. And again, now that we have a new budget subcommittee and we will be closing out FY20, it's certainly that discussion is going to ramp up over the next month or so.
Well, any other questions for Adam?
I have to say that, if I had known your school committee meetings were only going to go 40 minutes, I might not have looked in Mohawk.
That's just not right.
It's a record. It's a record, friends. It's a record.
Well, unfortunately, Cheryl, we are chucking that to Carol's presence right here.
I knew it. You wait, Carol. They'll come get you.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Jim, was there a collaborative meeting
Tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay. So this is going to be a long meeting. That's what you're saying.
Tomorrow, yeah.
We're going to wait for you. Okay. All right. Cool. Cheryl, do we have an executive session?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. So we do not have anything left on our regular agenda, open agenda, but we have an executive session.
We do not have to come back
Okay. Yep.
after executive session. So
Right. So, so then we will vote to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part 8.3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. The committee will not return to open session. Jacqueline, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Everin,
Aye.
Ms. Mallett,
Aye.
Ms. Bartos,
Aye.
Miss Parent,
Aye.
Miss Sudak, Shudak. Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So thank you, everyone who participated in the meeting. We will see you next week at our public hearing. There is